I built a 1-to-1 Star Destroyer in Minecraft.
Past 2 years, I've been building Star Wars in Minecraft, dedicating hundreds of hours to faithful recreation.
Okay, he's just like flying by this as if I know this? This is insane. Dude. What? The scale is insane. The trees? The fucking little like huts in the... Oh my god. Wow.
Creations of the galaxy's planets and megaships. But my beloved Venator is looking a bit small. So it's time to design its successor.
Dude, I love
the
Star
Imperial
Wars.
Star Destroyer.
Love it.
I'm going to be recreating a super accurate exterior alongside a full interior.
Wow.
All in our favorite block.
Wait, and interior? Interior crocodile I don't know. Okay, now I forget the lyrics. Interior crocodile alligator?
And immediately we have a problem.
Oh?
Because an ISD is around 450 meters tall, taking it over the default height limit of 384. So, for the first time, I'll be using a world height extender data pack.
World
because
height
this
mod?
Doesn't look as intimidating. If you want to build your own massive ship, the best place to start is a wireframe. I printed off orthographic views.
Dude, look, this guy's doing actual mathematical equations. Look at this. Slopes. They said they said you were going to have to, your math teacher said you had to learn this, and they weren't wrong.
Measurements to ensure accuracy. For each measurement, I used this simple ratio calculation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so simple. Yeah. I do this all the time. What do you mean? I build ships in Minecraft every day. So yeah, this is real easy for me. What?
From just one known length, you can work out all the others. The ISD had 2 versions, and I'm more of a straight balls kind of guy, so I opted for the 2 class. Yeah, I actually just didn't want to build these at an angle. That looks scary. The function of these balls has been debated over the past few decades. They kinda resemble radar domes, but modern law seems to establish them as deflector shield projectors.
That's what I
perhaps with
thought.
some sensor capabilities within.
The reason I know that is because I took them out in squadrons. W game.
That's awesome. And this is what we're looking at so far.
Damn.
The general consensus for Minecraft scale
That's
is 1 block
crazy.
to 1 meter. And that's what I mean when I say this project will be 1-to-1 scale. With the transition from Imperial 1 class to Imperial 2 class, the X-shaped targeting array was replaced with a communications tower.
Fair?
This component was a genuine puzzle to put together, since I was following a 3-dimensional reference to be as accurate as possible. You can almost always find a good model on this website called Sketchfab.
Oh yeah,
And this
so many
design,
models.
modified from Fractal Sponge's work by Keaston Slater,
Wow.
became the basis of my interpretations.
Wow.
If you've seen my other Mega Project videos,
I
you've
haven't, but I
definitely heard me
should. This looks insane.
talk about greebling before.
Yup.
You might be more familiar with the technique in terms of Lego, using seemingly random pieces to
See,
decorate a given.
that's cool. I've never thought about doing greebling like in Minecraft. Like kind of using that terminology. That's cool as fuck.
Face. And these tiny details add up to help emphasize the crazy scale that we're working at. For now, I'm keeping the texturing and detailing symmetrical, purely for efficiency with mirroring. But most depictions of Star Destroyers have slightly asymmetrical greebles and panels.
True.
So I'll do those changes at the end. I took a few creative liberties here, combining the most interesting
Creative
details
liberties, as if this whole thing isn't fucking creative. This shit's insane. This guy, hey, props to you, man. If you ever hear me saying this, props to you.
from a couple references to make something that feels familiar and faithful, while, still being my own fit. For the windows, I went with ochre frog lights to contrast against the ion blue
I don't even know
I
what that
have
block
for the
is.
engines. I used polished tuff to make the bridge window a clear centerpiece, and then began designing its interior, referencing a model by KL Studio.
I gotta see how he
It felt
does
a bit
this.
cramped inside because the scales of interiors and exteriors don't always seem to line up in Star Wars. Like, how are these side windows even possible? Interestingly,
True.
I ran into the same scaling issue when building the Munificent.
Yo!
Unknowingly, I had begun defining staple detailing techniques for the rest of the ship.
Wait,
Like
that's not
rails,
bad.
crafters, and comparators for interactive
Wait,
panels,
that's not
and the light blue
bad.
candle for any
Yo! That's compy. I like that.
hologram equipment.
He's got the
A pretty
candlestick.
neat
Oh,
tip for building megaship interiors is that you only need 3 modular assets: a junction, a corridor, and an elevator.
true.
These can be quickly and easily puzzled together to link up the different rooms.
True.
My junction was inspired by the interior model, and the corridor was just an extension of that design language. I was a big fan of this Imperial light panel design.
That is so clever for the Imperial panels. Because the thing is, like, there's probably so many mods that would, like crazy mods that would make this, like, easier. Star Wars textures. But it's like, just doing it like that is so impressive.
The turbo lifts, I was inspired by hotel elevator lobbies,
Oh.
but with bubble columns to move between floors.
W's.
Green means up, and red means down.
Smart. I love the Minecraft.
Interior layout, so
like,
stay tuned.
I love how he, like, incorporates the Minecraft features.
On the exterior, I added greebling to the sides and the bottom,
So
which I
good.
will
That looks
hastily
oh
cover
my
for the
God.
sake of time. And with that, we had an excellent start. To both the
Wow. That's in Minecraft. That looks incredible. Like, those look like actual panels.
exterior and the interior. I used the loft tool from the Archeon plugin to model in the massive base hull slat.
W's?
From my experience with building mega ships,
my God, mamma mia. Dude, look at that Venator. It looks so good.
I knew that a flat edge could take away from the build, so just to make it a bit more interesting to work with. Let me introduce you to
Yo, W cat mention. Chloe's up there. Or right here. W Chloe.
Dave. This is Dave's dorsal side, the top, and this is his ventral side, the bottom. Now these terms should make sense for the ship. My initial measurements were incredibly useful for adding these 3 forward hull panels, as well as for positioning the dorsal levels. Clearly, I am using a lot of big commands here to speed up the repetitive tasks. I don't think I need to justify it, but what I can say is that there'll be no compromise when it comes to detail.
W's.
We can get an idea for scale by building a 1-to-1 Gazanti-class cruiser, which is
Such a flex. Yeah, we can get the scale for our ship by just building a quick another ship real quick.
roughly the same length as a
Dude,
Boeing
I love this guy
777-200
already.
at just under 64 meters. That was a lot of quick progress, so let's take a look from afar. And that tiny thing is the Gazanti. I
What?
must have read
That's
one of my measurements wrong
insane.
because this central level was off by about 50 blocks.
Oh,
It was a pain to fix, but certainly a good thing to spot early.
no way.
First
That would have
generation
sucked.
Star Destroyers had 3 heavy turbo lasers and 1 heavy ion cannon on each side.
True.
But for the second generation, these were replaced by 4 octuple barreled turbo lasers.
That's a
Each
big
one
word.
was the size of a house, and these were what made ISDs so formidable in combat against
Dude, look at the scale. Oh my
other capital
lord.
ships. At the bow, I began detailing work referencing this image alongside the 3D model. Canon sources suggest that second generation Star Destroyers dropped their anti-starfighter weaponry in favor of better armor. But I'm choosing to ignore that because they're going to look really cool. These turbo laser turrets came first. Then I had a go at ion turrets, making them distinctive with a
I
single
can't get over the scale of
and
this.
finally missile turrets, giving them a recognizable design as well.
Wow.
Later on, we'll position these
That looks incredible. I can't, dude. It's in Minecraft.
around the
Like, it's
entire ship
insane.
following this guide. One of the most common world edit commands is the sphere, but I only learned recently that you can add extra radii
Whoa.
parameters to make spheroids and ellipsoids as well. This allowed me to model in the 3 egg-shaped main thrusters, layering clay blocks within to make it look like the material was reflecting the ion blue engines. Again,
So
taking
clever,
advantage
so
of my
clever.
initial measurements, I used the Easy Edits cone tool to install the 4 backup thrusters, which only seemed to see use if the main reactor was damaged. To complete the base shapes at the stern, I added dual radiators on each side. The engine details will be a future me problem, and that's fine, because future me won't be mad.
Oh my god.
Bro, future me is so mad. But with
Dude, I love when the editor notes.
and that's fine, because future me won't be mad. Bro, with all the sides filled in, we're actually starting to get somewhere. I had passed the threshold of realizing this project was indeed possible.
W's?
There aren't any official deck plans for the ISD, so my layout drew from the
Too much is happening.
most logical ideas of fan-made tabletop game resources. What we do have are the beautiful cross-section books, with this illustration detailing the TIE Fighter launch and landing bays, as well as the attack hangar and a load of other stuff we'll cover later. This TIE boarding craft was
Dude, the
just a quick
TIE
retrofit
fighters, the
of my
TIE
existing bomber
bombers.
design.
Oh my
To
god.
recreate this scene, I needed to build a CR-90 Corvette, the iconic blockade runner, but technically
Yo.
not the Tantive-4, since this is a 2-class Star Destroyer. Yeah, apparently you pronounce it Tantivy, like this archaic word for galloping.
Tantivy.
I just like calling it that because it gets me more comments.
Nah, it's the
Since
same.
both ships are 1-to-1 scaled, the CR90 fit like a glove, and I secured it with the electromagnetic paralyzing pincer crane. Fancy. On the aft side of the main opening, we find the attack hangar. Kind of like a staging area. First up, we need a Sentinel-class landing craft, which I designed with seating for
Bro's just
54
on a
troops,
planet?
plus storage for a very techie
Dude,
speeder.
he's so
Please
good.
feel free
Everything
to
looks
copy
so
these.
nice.
I plopped some of
Like,
this
you
down
could actually
alongside the
tell
Gazanti class
what
we
every build is just right off the bat.
saw earlier. They just
If
needed
you know
a
Star
landing
Wars.
gear. And behind them, a rack of TIE interceptors.
Nice.
Since my last project was the
What? What? This is so unfair. How does he do this? That's so impressive. I would play. This should be, bro. This should be like a Battlefield mod.
Scarif diorama, I had TIE Reapers ready and waiting. And
W
I thought it
Reaper?
would be cool to design the Imperial Patrol craft that pops up a lot in the Rebels and Ahsoka shows. Yeah,
Rebels mention.
looking good. Still a lot of rooms to add, though. To complete the official complement quotas, I extended the hangar backwards for a ship storage and maintenance area. These ladders allow
Dude, the
TIE
lights.
interceptor pilots to enter their crafts. And this is a very canon Imperial cherry picker. Then these hydraulic lifts allow movement to a ground vehicle storage area, which I fleshed out with ATST walker
Oh my god. The
corridors,
ATS.
as well as a lovely open area for speeder bikes.
Yo.
Now, one vehicle that's obviously missing is the iconic AT-80 walker.
True.
And that's for a good reason. It simply doesn't fit.
True.
And interestingly, I wasn't the only person to have this issue. This user was working on an animation project and encountered similar. His solution was a rail system into the main opening, but I'm opting for carrying them externally. Gazantis have hyperdrives, and we can assume they operate out of the much larger Super Star Destroyer hangars, so all is well. A quick junction and staircase leads to the hangar control room, which has useful sightlines across the main opening. The most
I love the
important design in
interiors.
here
Oh
is
my
the
god, I
rounded
love it.
Imperial workstation, and I'll be using it a fair bit throughout the
Build
interior.
hours,
Don't worry about the
91
blockade
hour,
runner going missing.
91 build hours just for that interior.
We'll find her again later. To make sense of the TIE fighters being on racks, I had to install a rail system that connected the landing bays to the launch bays, and it had to be a loop system to avoid congestion. A lot of the interior planning was essentially a game of problem solving. How did the pilots get in and out? Ladders and a hole in the ceiling. Where does that lead to? Preparation areas. linked to
Holy
the main
accuracy,
corridors.
bro.
Where do TIE fighters get repaired and refueled? A parallel track with a dedicated room. How do crew get there? This elevator. How do the TIE zip around? On these grabber things.
Jesus.
This kind of thinking made the whole ordeal enjoyable, and that was a major contributor to all of this incredible progress.
W's?
Let's hop back to the exterior. I started off with detailing the ship's neck. The angle of this back face reminded me of the one on my acclimator. Basically, it will be a bit tricky to detail, but not impossible. Below the bridge, I added what I'm calling my favorite set of greebles across the whole ship. It's just a shame that it's in constant shade down here. Above the engines, I continued detailing, working my way
That
up
looks so
to
good.
an opening that was used to dump waste material. After finishing up the larger sloping face, I added windows to the garbage area's doors and connected them to an interior trash compactor. You would not want to get stuck in here. Extending the room
Oh my
backwards,
god,
I
a trash
installed
compactor.
hydraulic presses, incinerators with conveyor belts, and recycling
Whoa.
stations for all of the ship's waste management requirements. Next up were the hull trench indents. There's a big one and a small one, and they both help to break up the straight line along the edge. The problem with my main reference was that the details were way too itty-bitty, for lack of a better term. Therefore, I
feel that.
switched to this model made by Heattaker, which was less accurate scale-wise, but provided amazing inspiration for the greebling. And so began the most unemployed series of tasks I have ever undertaken, using the ideas from the 3D model to decorate these fins,
Crazy.
and breaking up the straight edge even further with smaller scale indents and outdents? Is that a word? But I didn't stop there.
Maybe.
Oh dear.
Don't ask me.
In fact, that was just the first few hours of my 2-week greebling spree.
2
And looking
weeks.
back, I honestly don't know how I did all of this without going insane. Clearly, it was invaluable to have such a strong reference, because translating existing forms into a new medium
Actual
takes far less
speed.
creative energy
Oh.
than inventing convincing details for an entire Star Destroyer. That's right, I do think Minecraft can be an art form. If you're on the
Facts.
fence about that, I'm sure this finished project will convince you. Another advantage I had was that the more greebles I built, the larger my greeble arsenal became. That's gotta be a brand new sentence.
That's so
Still,
fucking
no two
impressive,
sections of the whole
man.
trench look the same. And at some point, I retouched the bow to simplify the shaping there. Okay, excellent. I'm never getting that time back. It would be a shame if I had to do all of that again. Meet the late Colin Cantwell. Cantwell dreamt up the earliest concepts for what became the most iconic ships in Star Wars. His early Star Destroyer design was actually adapted into the Cantwell class Arrestor cruiser.
Oh, I didn't even know that. That's so
established
sick.
their layered, mechanical, and believable surfaces, and this visual style was cemented into physical models through greebling. In the 70s and 80s, it was a pretty novel process, taking waste plastic parts and recycling them to assemble pipes, vents, sensors, supports, lights, and so on. Such intricate details also helped to sell the apparent scale of a model that was actually
I'm not gonna lie, only 3 hours? That's not that bad.
This forward component
That's like good
houses
timing.
the ship's targeting systems, according to Star Wars Squadrons. Initially, I made it a bit too wide, but I fixed that up afterwards. This little fan detail utilizes dragon heads for diagonal blades, which I thought was pretty neat. The final section was the stern-facing area, and I somehow managed to do it all in one sitting. Check out this before and after. Now you can visit any of these walls and they look like they do something. I'm most proud of the fact that every section is subtly distinctive. To me, that makes it realistic, just how Colin Cantwell envisioned the design language half a century ago. Back on the ventral side and forward from the main hangar area, we find a moonpool hangar, or it might be better to call this the Executive Shuttle Bay, since it's mainly depicted as a personal parking space for the classic Lambda class. I thought it made sense for the moonpool hangar to accommodate TIE bombers, adding layered bays adjacent to it. I made the walls iron blocks to convey the idea that these are reinforced. We wouldn't want the bombs accidentally going off and destroying the ship from within. There's also spaces for extra shuttles. We already have turbolift shafts for rapid vertical movement, but I thought it'd be great to have a method for rapid horizontal movement as well.
Oh?
So, inspired by metro stations, I designed an internal shuttle system that utilizes Minecraft's ice boat mechanic, linking up the individual stops with sci-fi tunnels.
Dude, sliding on the ice is so fun.
Every time. It's fun. And while it's not exactly lore accurate, ice works incredibly well here.
No, that's
not
perfect.
To get political, right?
153.
There were a few minor sections that needed finishing on the exterior. First, I switched back to my main reference for detailing the sides of the neck, as well as that tricky angled face. I think we're all suffering from greebling fatigue at this point, so I won't linger. Remember that turret guide? It was time to position the various missile, turbo laser, and ion weaponry around the dorsal hull. While these do stand out quite noticeably at the moment, I didn't really consider that a bad thing, especially since the hull itself wasn't textured yet. The guide also had positions for the hull trench, which was excellent for providing more depth. To spruce up the thrusters, I added a layered glass fog effect to better match the ion blue color, as well as diagonal lines smoothed using levers.
Bro, the whole like layered thing is so trippy. Like when people make like layered art in Minecraft, or they make like shades and stuff by like layering different blocks.
I tried to add more lines at weird angles, but that did not work. I guess I found the limit of my abilities here. The entire engine section needed to be covered in pipes and other shenanigans. Luckily, I only needed to build 1/4 and then the rest could be mirrored around.
True.
Megalophobia, anyone? Another bare section was in the corners of the hull trench. Then I bordered the hull with polished andesite before adding bracket details to the stern edges, followed by window lights to
when you details like the top, it's gonna be
wow,
crazy.
This is actually coming together. It's awesome that you can visit any part of the exterior and something is happening. Well,
I already said that.
Almost any part. Before tackling the ventral side, let's build some more rooms. The official cross-section illustrates raw material and liquid stores. I interpreted the raw material stores as stockpiles of ores and fuel. Then I expanded on that idea by building a factory area with multiple production lines.
That's so unique.
Right now,
I love
they're
that.
turning raw material into missiles. It's very sensible to have a factory on board a ship this size, because if you run out of something mass-producible, like bearings, code cylinders, or blaster parts, it's way more efficient to make it in-house than to travel all the way back to a port. Much like an AI...
Dude, think of the size of these ships,
in-house,
and then look at the size of the fucking port, man.
The way back to a port. Much like an AI data center, a Star Destroyer would go through thousands of gallons of water a day, and in a closed loop, this water would need to be treated and recycled. So, expanding on the liquid stores, I installed water treatment facilities. You might have seen these clarification tanks before on Google Maps, or on Broken Moon in Apex Legends if you've never touched grass. I love how busy I made this room look, and it's easily one of my favorite interior spaces on the whole ship. Another important utility was air filtration and recycling. I used the relatively new copper grate blocks here within these pipes, since they kinda look like physical filters. Above the main hangar area, I started work on a med center module, putting the medical facilities as close as possible to any wounded troops returning.
175
One side of
hours
the module
to build.
has
Holy.
beds and medical supply storage, and the other side houses back to tanks.
Back to tanks.
Making the med centers modular meant it was super simple to expand capacity up to a full-scale hospital.
Whoa.
In the underbelly of the ship, I built a brig inspired by the cells we saw in Andor, with enough space to secure an entire Rebel frigate's crew. An Imperial Star Destroyer needed to carry enough munitions and supplies to last 2 years, and that meant I had to design a few boxes and crates.
Just a few.
These would store everything from ammo and weapons to ration packs.
Yeah, he mentioned like he would have gone insane. I'm surprised he hasn't gone insane. I'm going insane just looking at this. And bro had to build it all.
And machine parts. My favorite design was this Imperial payroll cache inspired by Andor. The munitions storage area linked up to the attack hangar, so that there was a logical route for transporting all of these boxes. Then I took the cargo container design and gave it multiple floors of dedicated space for extra storage. And of course, you can take a service tunnel between the munitions area and the factory plus cargo area. We have a great collection of interior spaces so far, and I love the ones with distinctive colors. Of course, I still have much more planned. But first, let's finish the exterior. Having stared at this 3D model for a few weeks, I'd come to appreciate the textured panels, so I set about adding similar to my own hull. While it did make the task twice as long, I knew it would look a lot better if this paneling was asymmetrical.
True.
Following that, I wanted to replicate this classic Star Destroyer look with all of the little box greeballs scattered across the hull, and I had an interesting idea to do it quickly.
Oh.
For Scarif, I had used Axiom Stamp Tool to brush in my vegetation from a collection of assets, and I realized it was possible to do the same here. Well, not with trees. I assembled a few small shapes using a placeholder block as to not affect the existing hull with commands. Then came the simple but time-consuming task of brushing them onto the hull, with the stamp tool randomizing.
You know, wait, that's actually smart. I like that a lot.
Following
I like that a
those
lot.
two steps, the hull goes from being a flat
W
eyesore
efficiency
to something that's actually interesting to look at, tying the whole ship together. Down the center of the dorsal levels, I swapped in new asymmetrical details where the changes would be most noticeable. One easy way to do this was just to turn off some window lights on one side, but I also invented some fancy new greebles. On the ventral side, I added windowed protrusions alongside the final set of turrets and the bulging main reactor sphere. Then, just like above, I textured in asymmetrical panels and greebles. A few of you are probably wondering how this thing's size compares to my humble Venator. So, here's them side by side. Hopefully that
it's like
explains
barely
the upload
running.
schedule. A big thank you goes to person named Jack from my Discord server, who made these absolutely spectacular renders. I'll link their channel in the description if you're interested.
Oh, those are Minecraft builds? I didn't even know that.
The main reactor positioned
What? I thought those were actual pictures. These are the fucking Minecraft builds.
Goes to person named Jack from my Discord server, who made these absolutely spectacular renders. I'll link their channel in the description if you're interested in some sci-fi animations. And with the main reactor positioned, that means we can assemble the entire reactor system within. The official cross-section also illustrates this section with great detail. All of the thrusters and backup thrusters align with the reactor chambers and turbines on the interior, and I added supports to make it realistic. Then I linked the side reactors
I'm getting them Battlefield vibes where you gotta fucking blow up the reactor to win.
Heat dispersion systems.
Or Battlefront, sorry.
The exterior radiators as well. Referencing the Sith Star Destroyer cross-section, I designed a fuel silo, which of course connects to a small port on the exterior. These twisting pipes supply the main reactor.
This might be the most accurate Minecraft build I've ever seen.
Just vibrations.
Truly.
These power cells store power in cells, and these coolant towers store coolant in towers. Following the main reference, I installed this large metal beam and used it to hold a power converter, allowing me to wire up the 4 massive turbolasers on the exterior. I think it's pretty cool that all of the components link up
213 build hours.
in a functional
That's
and
just
believable way.
ridiculous.
Within the main sphere, I casually constructed a hypermatter power plant, which annihilates the superdense fuel to generate energy.
Oh, that looks so
In
sick.
particular, this is a solar ionization reactor that creates a miniature star within the chamber. Inspired by Battlefront 2's Jakku concept art, I added a reactor oversight room to house the ship's most important engineers. It also just provides really cool sightlines. An Imperial Star Destroyer carried 9,700 troopers, almost 28,000 crew,
Each
and
cube.
an additional
Each cube is 1,000 people. Wow, 1 cube is 1 officer. Wait, is it? It said each cube is 1,000, but then the passengers it says otherwise.
9,235 officers. The Empire wanted as many people as possible on payroll to buy their loyalty. And after the Clone Wars, droids...
Dude, this looks incredible. This looks insane. Like, people need to freak out about this because it looks insane.
weren't exactly trusted to do important
This is so
tasks.
talented. It's like art.
What are all these people doing on the ship? Let's consider the possible departments on board to try and justify the total numbers. This assumes that most officers exist purely to oversee and likely belittle 3 basic crew on average, which does make sense for the Empire. For the Stormtrooper and Airwing barracks, I went for another modular design like the med centers. In one quadrant, I installed a bunch of bunk beds.
Nice.
Adjacent to that was a shower block, alongside some freshers, as they're called in Star Wars. Yep, that's how much detail I'm adding. Across the hallway, we find a self-service canteen, and adjacent to that, I built a gym with an armory in one corner.
W
The gym
Jim.
just
Shout
gives
out
the
Jim.
troopers
What a
something
good
to do
guy.
while in transit. I stacked the barracks as much as the space allowed, but I still only had enough beds for hot bunking, where staggered shifts would share a bed with one other person here. It's actually pretty common in real life when space on a ship or submarine is limited. For the crew quarters, I used the same template, but I gave the bunks more privacy as well as the showers.
W
The
privacy.
canteen was kept the same, but I replaced the gym with various offices, alongside a recreational area and a laundry corner to keep uniform in top condition. For the officer quarters, they got personal rooms with showers and a less packed
Living
living area
fancy.
overall. These stacked floors are essentially internal residential skyscrapers. Around the bridge, I designed high-ranking officer apartments with meeting rooms, plus a private utilities room and bedroom with ensuite.
Got apartments
In
now.
total,
Hold
I
on.
stacked 250 of these for the commodores, commanders, and captains on board. Below the main turbo lasers, I designed a firing control suite containing lines of virtual firing stations. These projected screens would show the view of a given turret. Right at the bow, I built a miscellaneous room to take advantage of the forward windows. Behind that, we find a forward firing control center. And further aft, I combined some existing assets with smaller components to make auxiliary reactors, sensors, and power cells. To fill the remaining space around the command bridge and provide some more jobs, I added a dedicated office floor for the departments of communications, operations, logistics, administration, and security. Inspired by the Battlefront 2 campaign, I built an escape pod room close to the command bridge. If the ship goes down, only the higher-ups are getting out. Although these weren't on every Imperial megaship, I installed a Vader meditation chamber.
This guy's just showing off. Vader meditation chamber.
You know,
Or,
just in case he turned up.
or,
For Officer briefings, I added an audience hall, which kinda looks like a cinema, and I designed this Star Destroyer outline on display.
Yo.
The highest ranking officers could use this conference room just down the hall from the main bridge. Stormtroopers and pilots could come up to training halls, complete with flight simulators and firing ranges. Ah, I forgot it did that. And finally, I designed these computer core elements inspired by the Mikoshi access point from Cyberpunk 2077. These could run
Cyberpunk?
the crazy calculations required to take this massive ship into hyperspace.
Wow, dude.
I really put my all into this interior, and I hope it shows.
It does, dude. It
honestly
does. This
felt
is
like
incredible.
urban planning for a small town. Just as an example for traversing the ship, let's look at a day in the life of a TIE Fighter maintenance crew member. After waking up, taking a quick shower, and grabbing some questionable food, it's straight to work. They take the twisting corridors to the nearest turbolift and then descend to a transit station. They speed down the shuttle system, and disembark at the next stop. From there, another turbo lift, further twisting corridors, and we've arrived. If you would like to explore the countless other pathways aboard...
W Slay the Spire? Wow, that was a fun niche little video. That was a fun video. I know that was really just, it was very specific, but I think that's super cool. And it's like, it's got 1 million views. I think that definitely deserves 1 million views. That is definitely a form of art, and I think that's sick. So I'm glad I found that little video.